Hollywood is the land of glitz and glamour, or at least that's what the movies would lead you to believe. Sometimes actors need digital effects to help them out with everything from acne to, touching up more intimate areas. In this video, the Binger is going to take you through 10 instances of actors who needed digital editing to take on a role. You can't deny that Chris Evans, the guy with America's ass, is absolutely ripped. Every one of his Marvel movies, yes, even the two Fantastic Four films, feature Evans showing off his incredible physique. However, his character Steve Rogers didn't start off as a slab of muscle in Captain America: The First Avenger. Instead, he was an absolute pipsqueak. Through the magic of special effects, Chris Evans' head was digitally inserted over the face of another actor at the beginning of the movie. Of course, Evans is all Captain America after his character becomes a super soldier. Before that, though, actor Leander Dini performs as a body actor to portray Rogers' slimmer build. Of course, there is a bit of CGI enhancement happening with Evans' full portrayal of Captain America too. But that's not quite as impressive as the full-on face swap in The First Avenger. It really goes to show the money that goes into MCU productions and how quick the films are to utilize the latest special effects technology. Now, if only they could use some of that money to up the production budgets on their TV shows. Okay, so you know a lot of movies and shows nowadays have scenes where two characters are physically intimate, and how most of the time they look ridiculously hot and without a single imperfection? Well, that's thanks to a combination of special and practical effects. With few exceptions, actors are never completely nude on a production set. Sure, they're sometimes topless, but they're almost always wearing some kind of flesh-toned body stocking to hide their most private areas. This was certainly the case for Dakota Johannson during her time in the 50 Shades of Grey films. Essentially, she wore underwear that matched her skin tone during the scenes where her character was undressed. To make this seem more realistic, After Effects artists smoothed any discrepancies between the two in post-production and even added pubic hair. That's right, like every other part of films, the naughty scenes are nothing more than meticulously constructed fantasies. Nobody's really flawlessly hot, and you're not actually watching two people do it on screen. Just like how Captain America isn't really holding down a helicopter, or they aren't really filming in space for Star Wars movies. If you didn't know it already, Nicholas Cage is a massive Marvel fan. His stage name, Cage, is actually inspired by the Marvel hero Luke Cage, and he has a tattoo of the character Ghost Rider on his arm. This posed a problem, though, when Cage was cast to play Ghost Rider in the films of the same name. Truthfully, it would be pretty awesome if Cage's character had a tattoo of his superhero persona, but it would break continuity and make it a bit more difficult to keep that secret identity, you know? So, for most of the production, they painted over Cage's tattoo, and then used digital effects to make that cover-up less noticeable. This combination of practical and special effects are actually pretty common, and one of the most common instances of movie magic. Plenty of actors have tattoos or other distinguishing features that would break the immersion of a film. It's way more economical to cover up those marks in post than spend more time and money on the casting process to find someone who's an exact fit. Even if Ghost Rider isn't Nicolas Cage's best performance, the tattoos make it clear that he's brought a lot of enthusiasm to the role. Scarlett Johannson needed a lot of special effects work to take on the role of Motoko Kusanagi in the Ghost in the Shell movie, although she really shouldn't have been cast for that role in the first place. This movie contains a lot of scenes that show off Motoko's unique constitution as a cyborg. Connecting seams appear on various parts of her body, and the cybernetic innards of her body also appear. These kinds of scenes are a little too high concept for practical effects. So instead, special effects are used to get the point across. For scenes like these, Johannson likely wore a green bodysuit so that the effects could be inserted onto her. This is pretty common for bodily special effects that exceed the limits of practical effects. Although by being digital, the effects can seem less believable if it doesn't match the tone of the rest of the movie. Since Ghost in the Shell takes place in a sci-fi world with rough and sleek elements, these special effects are pretty on point. Too bad those effects couldn't have gone on to someone who fits Motoko's background, though. 2017's Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales features a flashback that involves a young Captain Jack Sparrow. Despite Johnny Depp's more advanced age, special and practical effects make his character look like a teenager. Turns out it's way easier to digitally de-age someone if there are a lot of images and videos of that person in their younger years. Since Johnny Depp's been acting for nearly his entire life, there are plenty of those clips. Using footage of Depp from the original 21 Jump Street and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, they created a digital model of a young Johnny Depp. Then the studio blended that model with a body actor and Johnny Depp's actual performance to create the young Jack Sparrow we see on screen. If that sounds like a lot of work and really expensive, that's because it is. Then again, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is still a cash cow and worth nearly any investment. Although, considering how long it's been going on, soon everyone's going to have to be de-aged just to make another movie. Most of the Harry Potter movies focus on teenagers as they battle dark forces and go on magical adventures. Of course, what the movies don't show are the characters dealing with the least magical part of being a young adult: acne. That's right, rumor has it that the teenage cast of Harry Potter had such bad acne that the blemishes had to be digitally removed. Normally, if an actor develops a blemish during filming, the makeup department will simply cover it up. However, that's a lot tougher to do when a performer has a full-on breakout. Large zits or plentiful pimples can reshape a teen's face for a time, and there aren't many practical ways to smooth it out. To combat this, the studio digitally smoothed out the actors' faces to hide their teenage imperfections. Especially with these movies being shot out of order, this was definitely the right call. After all, it wouldn't make a ton of sense if Harry was blemish-free in one scene and then had a full-on outbreak in the very next one. Another long-standing rumor in Hollywood is that Brandon Routh was a little too, super to fit comfortably into Superman's costume. There have been too many jokes about Superman's tight red undies to count, but they apparently caused some difficulties on set. People were worried that instead of Superman's bulging muscles, viewers would focus on another of the hero's bulges. While this rumor isn't completely true, the studio actually had some pretty interesting discussions around the intimate problem. Apparently, the costume department created multiple codpieces for the various costumes used in Superman Returns. That was because movie executives couldn't agree on exactly how much heat Superman should be packing. Yep, it was somebody's job to figure out how prominent Superman's junk should be. While this specific issue was solved mostly with practical effects, Routh absolutely got a CGI touch-up in this movie. He's called Superman for a reason, and even the most athletic folks can't measure up to his physique. Although maybe endowment is a better term, all things considered. With Superman's long history as a pop culture icon, it's easy to forget his weirder moments like this one. You know how Grand Moff Tarkin is in Rogue One? The actor who played the villain, Peter Cushing, passed away in 1994, so to get the character as he appeared in the original movies into the film, the studio used some cutting-edge special effects. In Rogue One, Tarkin is played by Guy Henry, an actor who looks fairly similar to Peter Cushing. Using footage from the original Star Wars movie, the studio created a digital model of Tarkin and inserted it over Henry's face. The end result is a near photorealistic depiction of Tarkin on screen. This digital editing actually caused a stir in Hollywood after the film released. Actors have worried for a while that studios will start using special effects to have other performers reprise their iconic roles. After all, it's a lot cheaper to hire a mocap and voiceover actor in a Top Gun sequel than it is to hire Tom Cruise. Actors' unions even forbid members from doing these kinds of performances. So while this CGI work on Guy Henry is pretty cool, it may also mark the beginning of a major shift in the film industry. Another actor who was de-aged for a role is Samuel L. Jackson during his performance in Captain Marvel. With only a little bit of help from practical effects, the studio was able to place a younger version of Jackson's face over his current appearance. The effect was stunning, and Jackson looked almost exactly as he did in the 1990s. A big factor in how Jackson looked in this movie relates to his extensive acting career. That's because the more footage the effects team has to work with, the more believable they can make the younger digital model. Being an enduring acting sensation, there were a lot of pictures and clips the studio could use to create the model. It's clear that this technology is taking off, with the movie Gemini Man using similar technology to de-age Will Smith. Who knows, maybe everyone who was big in the 90s will have appearances on screen as their younger counterparts. It would be cool if the Friends cast did another episode like the show never even ended. Or maybe Adam Sandler could make one more movie like his classic 90s affairs. Pretty much every entry in this video illustrates how digital effects improved a film or performance. Now let's finish up by talking about how it ruined one. Henry Cavill was called on for extensive reshoots for the Justice League movie. However, he was contractually obligated to not shave his mustache because of his role in Mission Impossible Fallout. So the effects department just digitally removed his mustache and gave him a fake upper lip. This looked infamously bad, and people are still coming up with new memes that make fun of the edits. The DCEU was already in a rocky place, but this blunder all but guaranteed that the franchise would see a massive overhaul. The worst part is that Henry Cavill isn't a bad Superman, he just had a lot of bad luck in the role. The movies made Superman far edgier than he ever should have been, and production struggles led to this unsettling fake lip. Justice League wasn't a good movie though, and this digital lip was just the rotten icing on a spoiled cake. Warner Bros. Should have either figured out a way to work around the mustache and reshoots or waited until after Cavill was done with Mission Impossible. Sure, that would have been really time-consuming, but anything would have been better than what we got in the film. Sorry, Henry, you deserve better, man. What do you think of these digital makeovers? Did we miss any good movie magic stories? Please let us know in the comments section down below. While you're there, also be sure to subscribe to The Binger and click on that bell icon. That way we'll see our latest videos on the wonders of the film industry as soon as they come out.